بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نرحب بكم في هذه المحاضرة العامة التي يقدمها الدكتور رافيكانت جوشي من منظور دولي. بداية دكتور رافيكانت سأعرف به باللغة الإنجليزية حتى يتم الترجمة عبر الأجهزة اللي موجودة في الخارج عند البوابة. Dr. Ravikant is an international expert and independent researcher specialized in urban finance and financial sustainability. He worked with government in India in designing and implementing innovative urban finance tools, utilizing available budgetary resources for local governance entities. He is also an expert in field of local governance. He worked also for more than 20 years in the World Bank and in the UN Habitat Program in the United Nations. He worked as a consultant in Asian Development Bank. He worked also as a consultant in UNDP, the United Nations Development Programs. He participated as a head of working group in a field of housing and fighting poverty at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He's a former advisor at the United States Agency for International Development. And finally, he was a former consultant in the British International Development Organization for supporting financial sustainability activities. Dr. Ravikant, without further ado, let's begin the lecture. Thank you.
This presentation will be here. Okay, meanwhile they are sitting, let me say Assalamu alaikum and let me thank organizer, that is the Center for Local Governance, for inviting and giving me this opportunity to present in front of you people. Public finance, you know, some of you may not be knowing that subject. Public finance is a subject which basically deals with how government should raise the funds and how it should spend, very simply. And then urban public finance is a part of public finance because local governments are also government, and then how they should raise the funds, from where they should get the money, and how they should spend. So what I am going to do today is I will be sharing some of the experiences, international experiences, how in other countries cities are managing. And I will give some example, and I will finish my presentation roughly in 50 minutes, and then I will be open for the any questions, answers. Next slide. Oh, okay. So this is my very first slide, and basically it's a conclusion also. What I tried that probably if I'm not able to finish, I may miss the conclusion. So I have put it on the very first slide, and the whole story will come out in the line of this. See, we all are experiencing 21st century as the century of the urbanization. Whole world will undergo such a huge urbanization, and therefore cities, this is called a century of the cities, century of the urban governance, and century of the urbanization. Cities across the world are considered as engines of the economic growth, correct? But at the same time, they are cause and solution for the climate change. We are experiencing climate change across the world. Now, this climate change is happening because cities contribute 70% of the CO2 produced in the world. So one way cities are cause of the climate change, but at the same time, cities will be the solution for the climate change. Because if we can address our cities, their climate change, their sustainability, whole world will become sustainable. Then there is no specific, though I'm going to discuss various models of different countries here, but let me tell you, there is no single one model which is the best, or there is no stone cast model of urban finance. It differs from country to country, and it's evolving with the time. So it is each country and each city, they will have to find out their own answer. So there is a theory, lot of literature is there on urban finance, but when it comes to the practical aspect of it, everybody has to find out its own way. But the broad trend indicates that as country develops, the percentage share of urbanization and share of the cities in the national economy increases. And then decentralization process, I'm not talking of here of a political decentralization, that will come, but basically decentralization process in a sense as the cities grow, as the cities' importance increases, in every country some kind of a decentralization has to happen to manage those cities. So the broad trend is that then the more resources will be given to the cities and more autonomy will be granted to the cities and to the urban local government. Okay. This way it will go further? Okay, fine. I got it. And the last point is that, as I said, every country needs to design and adopt its own urban public finance system based on its own governance system in the country, financial situation, resources available, trends of urbanization happening in the country, and finally its political economy. So what is urban local government? Right from the dawn of the civilization, the first thing came in was some kind of a city and then city government. So local government refers to a specific institutions or entities created to deliver a range of specified activities. Again, that differs from country to country. For example, certain countries have police in local government. In USA and Canada, policing is with the local government, while many other countries do not have. Some countries have fire brigade with the local bodies, some countries do not have. So what could be the functions and what could be the resources, it depends on system in that government. And there is no specific rule. There is one specific rule, or what we can say wisdom, that the government which is closer to the people is the best because it understands people's requirement clearly, and therefore all the activities which are of a local nature, correct, they should be provided by the local government. But again, we have small countries, unitary countries, and we have federal countries like USA, India, China, very big countries in the area, correct? Now, in that circumstances, certain activities would be different with the local government and certain activities will be different with the other governments. How local governments are created? There are again different ways. Some are created by the constitution itself. Some are created by the state constitution. For example, Australia and USA, every state has a different constitution and local governments are created by the state constitution. There are certain countries like India, Brazil, Chile, Uganda, South Africa, where they are created by the national constitution. Sometimes they are created by simple ordinary legislation by central government like United Kingdom, New Zealand, ordinary legislation by the state government, or finally executive order. So again, you can see there is a diversity. There is no, again, a specific rule. But why for local government? Local government is just not to deliver the services. Local government is the closest government to the people, correct? And it reflects the people's aspiration. And therefore, it is much more than that. Why we need cities? Why we need local government? It is to preserve the life, liberty of the residents, culture, and the identity of the city. And therefore, you can see every city is like a living organism. Every city, like you and me, have a personality. We know Paris for certain thing. We know Riyadh for certain thing. We know Dubai for certain thing. We know London for X kind of a personality. We know Singapore for different kind of a personality. So every city gets a face, every city gets a identity, and that identity evolves the way you and me evolve, like that it evolves. And then cities are there to support market-led environmental sustainable development which we require for the future, and for facilitating outcomes that enrich the quality of the life of the residents. Now, how cities are financed? Very simple. There can be a very simple way. All the taxes collected by the central government, you, me, and every citizen paying the tax. And there may be three types of the government: central government, provincial government, local government. But provincial and local government don't tax, only central government tax. But as a government, all the three governments has to do jobs. Somebody has to do the roads, somebody has to do the water, somebody has to do the sewage, somebody has to take care of the solid waste, somebody has to look at the defense, foreign relations, correct, railways, roads, big roads, bus transport. All these are government jobs. Who does what differs from country to country. But there is a X cost for providing all these services to the people. And the resources are again same. There can be tax resources, there can be service charges which are charged for providing the service, or there can be some donations coming from foreign countries if it's a small country and other countries help. Saudi Arabia also help many countries. So those are called external borrowings also can come, external donations can come. But all in all, so either one collects the tax, all the resources, and then gives to other, or there is a sharing of the resources, there is a sharing of the functions. So central government doing certain functions, provincial government doing certain functions, and local government doing certain functions. And then resources to be given to the central government, certain resources will be with the central government. Like you know, income tax is usually with the central government, while property tax across the world is with the local bodies. So there are two models for devolution. Either you don't devolve and you spend everything. That's a centralization kind of a thing. I'm not talking democratic centralization, I'm talking a financial centralization. Whole thing at one place. Or there can be, everything can be given to the lower level governments to manage. Now it depends on the state of the country, how developed country is, at what stage it is. So first model is of a devolution, in that local government is just a service center. So first government will give them the function, then they will give them the resources, but always there will be gap between the function and resources, and that gap will be filled up. Then there are two methods of matching that gap. Either there can be automatic system that every year 5% will increase, or every 5 years somebody will take a review and the adjustment will be done. So more resources will be given to the local bodies depending upon the gap. Or there can be ad hoc treatment. Some fine morning central government can decide, okay, we will give you more money. Different ways are there. I'm not saying this one is better, that one is better. And then there is a decentralization model in which finance means functions are given and resources are given and both are balanced. So you give that much resources which are just sufficient to manage that function. Now, once you have done this kind of a thing, what happens? There will be two kind of outcomes in that system. If functions commensurate the resources and urban local government achieve optimum utilizations, means local government are efficient, they utilize whatever money they get efficiently, then more functions will come to the local government. And naturally more resources will come. And that way the decentralization process will happen. Decentralization process never happens in a 1 year or 2 years. It takes 10 years, 20 years, depending upon how you are evolving. It is like a son and father relationship. If son is capable, father has given him some duties and he manages it well, then father will say that, okay, you can do this also. As he further shows that he is capable, more and more responsibilities goes to the son, and more resources and power go to him. Same with the central government and the local government. There can be other way around. Local government may not be efficient, but central government has to deliver. So central government will take back the function which is given to the local government and will hand over to the another agency. And naturally, when function is given to somebody else,
money will go to that agency and local government will then shrink. So this is what basically happens in public finance. So what kind of tax resources should be given to the government? I'm now going to the next stage. See, local taxes should be such which should be neutral in their effect. Correct? They should not cause hardship or they should not change economic behavior. You should not tax poor local people so much that they will start eating or they will stop going to the hotel or they will stop going to the other places. So the taxes should be such, they should be moderate and should not be changing the economic behavior. The cost and benefit of the local taxes should be clear to the citizen. There should be a transparency. Because usually, local level, people will see as a one-to-one cost-benefit relationship. People will be dissatisfied if they will find the kind of water supply I am getting and the charge which I am paying is much more. And then there will be resistance. Correct? So always at mind, people will evaluate that what kind of service they are getting, and what kind of money they have to pay. So cost benefit must be clear to the common man that why I am charging you, how much is the cost incurred, and how much I am charging you. Third, the patterns of the incidence of the local tax must be fundamentally equitable. It should not create the inequality. And finally, administration and compliance costs should be much less. And therefore, complex taxes should not be given, like GST or that kind of a thing should not be given, because then it will be very difficult for them. Very simple taxes should be given whose cost will be less. How local government should finance themselves? Whatever resources they have got, tax they have got, but the basic principle of the public finance is not the tax at a local level. Local government should charge for the services they provide wherever possible. If you are giving water, charge them. If you are taking care of their wastewater, charge them. If you are taking care of their solid waste, gardens, schools, charge them. Of course, when I say charge them, means not exorbitantly. Again, earlier as I said, there should be a transparency. Means what is the cost as a local government I am incurring and how much I am charging. People should know that. Whatever thing you cannot charge, which we call public goods. For example, we may not be able to charge for the roads, we may not be able to charge for the tree plantation or air purification. Many things are there, or burial sites, crematoriums, immunization. There are many public goods for which you can't charge, so naturally you have to go for the tax. And the major tax at the local level is the property tax. What are other aspects? As earlier said, sufficient autonomous power should be given to the local government by the higher level government. Access to the infrastructure finance means banks, public agencies, public infrastructure agencies, so they should be able to get the finance from them whenever they want to do any capital projects or infrastructure project. Adequate incentive should be there. Correct? Electoral and beyond, so that the urban local governments are held accountable. See, urban local government should be given autonomy, should be given resources, should be given functions, but at the same time they should be held accountable, because if there is no accountability, the performance won't happen. So all developed countries, or at the end of this presentation we are going to see, is that all the countries which have given maximum power to the local government, they have very good fiscal oversight system. Continuously local bodies are monitored, their performance is examined, and if they fail to do, even the local politicians are removed and the administrator is appointed. So they are held accountable. Appropriate organization structure, staff should be given to them, well-defined systems and procedures of accounting, finance, governance, service rules, all those should be laid down, and suitable frameworks and mechanism by which local governments can interact with the other governance. See, you want to do public-private partnership. You will require that kind of a law where local body will be able to do a public-private partnership with a private player. So all those things has to be there in the system, which will facilitate municipal bodies to contact with the other institutions. This is the structure across the world wise. Beyond this, there cannot be any resources. See, and therefore they are using word conventional and non-conventional. Conventional, which is age-old. And so there will be internal own resources which are in the hands of the municipal body or urban local governments. Means they have control. They have power to decide the rates. They have power to decide rules. Then it's a own source. So there will be tax sources, then there can be user charges, and there can be some assets with the local body. Land could be there, other things which they can sell, or they can give lease rights, correct? Also building permissions and town planning, you know, those kind of rights and taxes and the powers can be with the municipal bodies. Then they can take the government loans. Government can extend them the loans for doing the infrastructure projects. And there can be transfers, that is the grants, the support given by the, as I said, it could be 100% support, means central government giving 100% money and local governments only doing the functions. Or there are examples which we will be seeing where almost 80% money comes from the local government themselves and only 15% come from the central government. And then these are the new resources, non-conventional. Now, that resources, they can go to the banks. For example, US municipal bodies just raise the municipal bonds from the market and they fund their infrastructure. In India also in last 20 years, we got the system, of course not many, but at least 30 municipal bodies have raised the bonds from the market, debt market. South Africa, they have gone for the corporatization of their municipal bodies, means they have set up the company, means company under the Companies Act, and that is owned by the municipal body, and then they raise the equity and the debt from the market. So different types of the systems are possible. Municipal bodies do have companies in many countries. So they can raise the commercial loans, they can do the pricing mechanism like any market. They can certain things, not like water. Water pricing is different because there may be poor people. So we call it user charge, but in market we call price. You out and out, you do the marketing kind of a thing. And then they can access the capital market, raise the equity, debt also they can increase. They can use their land as a resource to develop the different infrastructure. And finally, there can be public-private partnership, where municipal body and private sector come together and can develop. And public-private partnership can be for anything, for bringing water, for treating the sewage water, wastewater, or treating the solid waste, or for even generating electricity out of the waste, or gas from the waste. All these different models are possible where private sector can come with the technology and the money, correct? These are the different tax sources across the world with the municipal bodies. Property tax, all of you must be knowing, but there is a municipality tax in Australia which is on a basis of the business salary paid by the businesses. That's the base. There are sales tax also at a municipal level, or individual and corporate income tax. So only 2-3 countries where municipal bodies also allowed to charge an income tax, correct? Then hotel and accommodation tax, all the hotels have tax, and that money goes to the local bodies. Advertisement, all advertisement which are done in the city. Then there are business licenses fees for any kind of business, you pay fee to the municipal bodies. So, or area improvement, amusement tax is there. Some countries have fuel tax, correct? And then there is a vehicle registration tax. Some portion of vehicle tax is given to the municipal bodies. Then there is a tax incremental financing or area improvement tax. This is a very specific tax. Suppose you are developing a particular new area. Then that tax is, and you put up a road, water supply, all infrastructure. Then as a government, you come and say that, okay, for 5 years we will have this tax. After that, there will not be. And that whole money will be spent only for that area. So it will not go to entire city. Whatever money comes from there, it will be. So that's an area improvement tax, and it is not forever. It is for 5 years or 10 years for developing and recovering the cost of that area, new area development. As I have been asked, so I will discuss just two concepts which are becoming very important. See, first is a financial sustainability. Now, financial sustainability is the ability of an organization or even individual to sustain its financially without hampering its functioning and without compromising on its service quality level. So there is no exact definition, but we all understand financial sustainability. For example, I am doing a job, I get a salary. So what I do, I keep my family expenditure, monthly expenditure less than the salary. That's the financial sustainability. I save some amount so that I will meet the emergencies and all that. So that is my ability of maintaining myself, correct? It applies to the university, it applies to any organization, it applies to any company, it applies to any other organization. That is financial sustainability. And how we measure, or what are the aspects? One, we will say that person is creditable or sustainable when he is able to carry out his everyday expenditure and he has some money for financial emergencies, correct? Or no default on liability, I don't default in liability, or international equity, there is an intergeneration equity, means like a father I will go on spending and transferring debt to my child. No, that's not financial sustainability. That is called intergenerational inequality, correct? So not transferring burden to the next generation, working capital management, asset management, and then we use various ratios. I won't go in detail, this presentation will be over here and anytime I can be also asked. But we use operating ratio, what is the profitability, net financial liability ratio, how much interest coverage, debt coverage ratio, these are all financial ratios. So whole world was talking for last 2-3 centuries or right from the beginning about financial sustainability. But nowadays world is talking about the sustainable finance ecosystem. What is this new? It is something more ethical, correct? Like in Islamic culture, you don't charge the interest. That's an ethical aspect, correct? I don't want to earn on that. So something like here, ethical aspect means whatever money I am investing, I will invest in a companies or in a projects or in an organization which are furthering the cause of environment, which are furthering the cause of social, means employment, poverty alleviation, or it could be cultural aspect, it could be religious aspect. So all the aspect by which I use my money for the furtherance of the sustainability, and whole world need to become sustainable more and more. From there this is coming. So ESG, that is environment, social and governance aspect, improving the governance of the government organization. So such kind of funding or such kind of investment is done, that is called sustainable finance ecosystem. It is evolving, it's a new concept, correct? And it is anchored, as I said, more on an ethical aspect. So you forego your profit. Suppose at the end of the year I got a profit, I can go and invest into a company which produces the arms. Or I can go and invest in a company which treats the water and reuse the water. Here it is achieving environmental aspect, or I can be investing in a company which is producing liquor, which is producing other narcotics items. I will get more money. But that's not sustainability. That's not sustainable eco-financing. Investing in a water conservation, investing in a treatment of the solid waste, investing in the forest development, all such are. So these are the new concept, and world is creating this whole new structure, wherein socially responsible investing, in which portfolio management companies, private companies who manage your portfolio, they consider this ESG aspect while investing. And now there are special funds which developed countries are setting and giving it for the green projects. So if a poor country or developing country want to take a project to save the water or treat the water, the money is available at a concessional rates. So there are different green finance bonds, social finance comes in for where the projects are for the employment generation, poverty reduction, then social businesses, microfinance, you know, where people save small amount in developing countries. Women SSG groups are formed, they save and they lend among themselves. So that is the microfinance Bangladesh, Professor Yunus developed that whole thing. Then impact investing, where you invest where there is an impact in terms of environment or social. And finally, social impact bonds are raised. Very recently, even Government of India raised a green bond. And one of the city near Delhi has raised a green bond. That green bond, that money will be utilized for treating the water and reusing the water. So that is the example of it. So what you will require for that to adopt the sustainable finance? One is a financial sustainability. It's a different thing. Financial sustainability means making the urban local government self-sufficient, sustainable, without any loss. So their operation need to be cost efficient. And sustainable finance means whatever they carry, they invest in a sustainable this thing. I have already discussed about why this is required, because cities are the cause of the climate change. Cities are going to be solution of the climate change. And therefore, what we require, adopting at a government level, central government level, appropriate legislations, policies, rules, creating the institutions, creating the incentives. Why I will invest money in a green bond? It's okay. Individually, I would like to invest in an environment, but ultimately it's a return. Another company may be giving me 10% return, and this may be giving 5% green bond. So some kind of that kind of a structure will have to be created. Then mandating minimum financial sustainability, fiscal responsibility and accountability on the local governments. Because see, inefficiency doesn't help anybody. Rupee, dollar, whatever currency you call, if it is wasted, it is wasted. It doesn't help. So biggest crime or biggest problem is the inefficiency. Who gives money is a second question. First is how our local government can be cost efficient. Means their 100 rupees may come from the central government, no problem. That decentralization can be next issue to be dealt. But whatever 100 rupees they are getting, from that 100 rupees, are they giving 100 rupees benefit to the citizens or 50 rupees benefit to the citizen? So cost efficiency is the most important first thing, and for that you require a fiscal oversight. You continuously need to analyze the finances or working of any government. Means it's not only for local government, any government organization, it has to be efficient. So given giving adequate resources, but at the same time accountability, and for that you need to enhance the transparency and disclosure norms. Now I will go to certain examples. Up till now I was discussing how the urban local finance, what are the principles, what is observed internationally. This graph shows, as I said, there is no one specific model. You can see there are certain countries where municipal bodies only earn 10% from their own sources, and 80% come from the central government. But at the same time, there are certain local bodies. You can look at Iceland, you can look at the New Zealand, you can look at the Australia, where almost 85 to 90% money generated from the local bodies through their tax and the user charges. Only 10% come from the central government. But there are other countries also where 90% come. And therefore, again, I said, what is most important is the cost economy, cost efficiency, doing the work, doing the things financially efficiently. Of course, allocation of the resources depends. It is like that you may be very efficient, but your father says that no, 100% I will give, and you are not allowed to earn. You just only manage. You may feel that I am not self-sufficient. But the day father says that, okay, you earn yourself and you manage it. You feel, same thing about with every government, every organization. How far freedom you have. That creates an incentive. When that freedom is taken away, disincentive. Very recent example of the India. See, up to 2005, local bodies were having less resources. Central government and provinces were not giving more money. Because for India, there were other problems. As our economy progressed, and when government of India and other provincial government realized that urban is the future, we need to address our cities, they opened the purse. But there was another effect. When accountability is not there, when transparency, municipal bodies stopped raising the resources. In 2000, 63% of the money municipal bodies were getting from their own source, and from government only 37 is coming. Today, what is the situation? 63% come from the central government and provincial, and municipal bodies have only 37%. So it may become disincentive because government of India and provincial government started giving free lunch. When you have a free lunch, why you will go and do the job, or why you will go and work? So it has to be done very selectively. It can have a negative effect. Nobody thought this way. The intention was not bad, but there can be a wrong effect. So my point is that if we look at internationally, right from lowest to highest we have, or you can see this table is there in the paper, but I have a presentation, but I have developed graphs. You can see Denmark and Sweden, their share in the GDP is 35%. Entire country's economy, 35% of the GDP are the resources of the local bodies, and that much is the spending by the local bodies, highest in the world. But at the same time, you can see in India, we've spent only 1% of the GDP on entire our urban population, which is the biggest now in the world. We have more than 400 million or 500 million people in urban areas. And we spend so much less. So there are countries where even USA's economy, you know how big it is. 8% to 9% is the share of the local bodies. No wonder their cities are managed in a different way. UK, and this is the average of all 28 countries of the European Union. So 28 countries of the European Union, there are different countries, but 11% of the GDP is their revenue share, and expenditure share is also equal. Another graph you can see, this is, as I said, three types of government, their total expenditure. Means government expenditure by central, state and local. Altogether, if it is 100, then Denmark and Sweden actually almost 66% of the money is spent by the local bodies. Out of 100 ruble or whatever dollar spent in the country, 66% are spent by the local government, and that much are earned by the local government. So local resources in the hands of the local bodies, there are so much resources given to them. When there are other countries where there is a very small share, correct? Canada has 12, Canada spends more, has less resources, so there come the grant. In Greece also, India you can see only 3.75% is the resources with the local government, and 2.75 is the spending. Local government debt as a GDP. So how much local governments are borrowing? Whatever. So out of total debt in Australia, you can see the local level debt share is the highest, or total local level debt as a percentage of the GDP also, it's very high, because they have been allowed to borrow. So the countries, Estonia, France, Sweden, they are allowed to borrow. There is an autonomy given to the local bodies to borrow. Let's come to a little bit detailed case study. If we take Australia, big country, federal structure, central, provincial and the local government. Now in Australia, 40% come from the taxes, local taxes. Then sale of goods and services, 26%. Others, transfers are only 14% or less than 14%. So 86% local bodies earn themselves, correct? Funding does come, but funding comes as a 70% untied grants. Now there are two concepts, tied grant and untied grant. Untied means I have given money to the local government and they are free to use the way they want. And tied grants means central government or provincial government say that I am giving you money, but you have to use it for road, or you have to use it for water supply, and only this way. That is called a tied grant. Untied grant means where local governments are free to use on their own. So in decentralization, untied grants are considered more important because that is means higher the number of the untied grants, higher the decentralization, because the powers are given to the local government. While tied grants, now in India, out of 100 rupees expenditure, capital expenditure, 85 rupees come from the central government, but they are all tied. Local governments are not free to decide how to use it. So it becomes a top-down approach. So money has increased. Yes. So money has increased, but autonomy hasn't increased. So Australia, highly autonomous. Then most important Australian thing is the next slide. Their cities require 10-year plan to be prepared. 10-year financial and development plan. It has to be prepared. And there is a huge surveillance on them. Continuously, every quarter, there are indicators on which local governments get analyzed. And if local government violates the financial rules, the mayor can be removed, political people can be removed, and central government or provincial government appoints its representative to take care of that. Canada, same thing. Province have all the powers to decide what to do with the local government, not the central government. Again, but Canada has a balanced thing. It gets main revenue from property tax, but transfers also account for 40 to 47%. So it's a balanced approach, all the three things, from tax, non-tax, and the transfers. Debt, it is taking 8 to 12%. And then in recent decades, what has happened? Canadian central government and state government has given more and more function to the local bodies, not the resources. So little bit financial position of the Canadian municipal bodies is under financial stress. Then Canada also again has a very high fiscal oversight. They don't do each and every day monitoring. There are fiscal rules, how you can borrow, how you can use the resources, how you should be doing your budget, how you should be doing your long-term planning. And if you run into deficit, if you don't manage your services well, you can be declared as a bankrupt, all local executives removed, central government appoints or provincial government appoints, but he is not for permanent. He will be there for 2-3 years, will again set the finances correct, financial health improve, again election will be held, and the local body will be handed over to the local politicians. South Africa, little bit different, but South Africa is, newly emerging developing country, and it has a skewed kind of a thing. Means there are 8 big municipal bodies, and they almost garner 70 to 85% of their entire municipal system. But they have again a constitutional right, and you can see there is also balance. They get something from the property tax. One thing they do, they purchase electricity from electricity companies and supply it to the citizens and earn the money. In between, they put their own charge. So that way, they earn a lot of money through the sale of water, sale of electricity. But there is one thing in their constitution in South Africa that money has to be shared with the municipal body equitably. So new constitution, and it says it has to be shared. USA, I have said 8%, and same USA again a balanced kind of a thing. They have tax sources, they have then user charges, they have individual income tax, and also transfers coming. Around 40% comes from the central and state government. So in USA also it is not 85%. Money comes from the higher level governments in USA. But again, USA also has same public oversight system. In fact, in USA, municipal body itself can, like a company, declare bankruptcy. Or higher level government can declare when they are not able to manage their finances well. A constitutional board is appointed that manages the finances, set it right, and again it is handed over to back. I think I will stop here. There are many other slides. I have, in fact, in further slides, I have given entire European main countries details, but that presentation will be with you. To conclude, I will say there is no one model, but what we learn from the international perspective is that each country has to design its own system by taking into account its own strength and weaknesses and the culture and the governance system. But there are 2-3 main lines. One, you should charge for whatever you are giving. So beneficiary should pay, polluter should pay, there should be tax, there should be transparency, there should be adequate autonomy to the local government, functions should be given, resources should be given, and there should be very good financial oversight mechanism. It's not every day do this, don't do that, but overall there should be a system whereby there is accountability. And the most important thing right in the public finance to my mind is the cost efficiency or the rupee productivity, dollar productivity, how you are using your money. It has to be efficient. Who funds doesn't matter. It will evolve over the time. I thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'm open for any question if it is there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rafikant. Now we will soon open the floor for questions or remarks or any comments. تفضل دكتور.
Cases you brought, it's just helping. Especially for Saudi Arabia right now, they are trying to, self-sustain their what they call financing. They want to for local governance, but it seems to me is not that easy. As you mentioned, it's like your child. You start training him, and you watch, and the model of Australia, and they just go over. And this is really, it is. From the beginning, I thought it's easier, okay, give the local government just you can do the decentralization, let them do it, but it's not that easy. It takes time. As you said, your child, you have to train him for a long time until he start and he do it by himself. And I really like the whole lecture and the examples, as you mentioned. Different countries have different model. And what fits here maybe is not going to fit here. And hopefully, I think we are going to have the lecture. Are we going to have a copy of this? Sure. Okay, very good. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Assalamu alaikum. I just have a question about your definition of financial sustainability. I didn't get it in the slide you have, it didn't show anything about the future, like you're saying that, sustainability is whatever you're using without, affecting the environment or whatever. But there is I didn't see the dimension of the future. I mean, in your definition, you should mention something about using resources or whatever without compromising future resources for the other generation. So I think you probably have to update it or do something. Then the conventional and non-conventional. I think now even the non-conventional became conventional, so probably that was a long time ago. But now it is conventional. Now using private sector became very conventional now, I don't see you using user fees. I know you're using taxes, but user fees is also another, source. You said TIF, tax increment finance. Also, there is something else close to it, which is tax easement for other places. So those are things that probably, we want to see, Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for this very intellectual and it's a very enlightening actually presentation. The thing is that I wanted to know from your presentation how this different types of financing sustainable economy reflected on the quality of life of the people themselves. Because actually what all we are talking about in governance, the end user or the community is the main target. How is this reflected in different ways or standards on the quality of people's life? Thank you.
Correct. Everything cannot be done by the sustainable finance ecosystem. Those concepts are welcome, but first we'll have to achieve the financial sustainability. And we understand by financial sustainability means dollar saved is dollar generated. If everybody becomes a cost efficient, whole world will require less resources. So first we have to attain the financial sustainability and cost economy. We have to become cost efficient. We go on spending, but we do not question that how much we achieved by the money we have spent. So if everybody and every organization first achieves the financial sustainability and cost efficiency, half of the problem of wasteful utilization of the resources will go down, and naturally then sustainable finance will be required less. Again, I said sustainable finance is a evolving condition. It is like that I should behave nicely, I should not do this and that. So people are investing into it, but there are limits also, because there will be certain things we will have to do. Simple thing is that new 3 billion people will be coming to the city. Even if houses are going to create CO2 and the climate change problem, but we will have to construct the house for those 3 billion people which come to the urban areas by 2050. So world has a paradox. On one side, urbanization will increase climate change issue. More people will come to the city, temperature will go up. Now we will have to think of a technology which can be more sustainable, which can be more cost efficient. So every level that's sustainable, only finance can't achieve the sustainable finance. These are new things which are evolving, which are good, but it cannot solve all the problem. And sir, you were mentioning, I personally at my level feel user charge should be the first thing to be resorted. Why? Because in user charge, if I put everything in front of you that I am supplying water to you, this is the cost, and this way I am doing, come forward and show me any inefficiencies there. Now if my cost is coming 2 real for 1 liter bottle, I need to get that 2 rupees. One solution is that from 2 real I can go to the 1.5 real through better technology, through better cost efficiency, which I am saying. But finally 1.5 real per liter I have to take it from the people. But once I take in confidence to the people and show them that I am not inefficient, this is the basic I have to get it. And against that I am giving you water, or I am giving you sewage treatment or solid waste, people accept it. That is my experience. It may be different, but user charge could be the first thing where transparency can be your strength. Where in tax, person feels that I am taxed too much. For example, there is a street light. Now street light cannot be recovered. I have to put a tax for the street light, because how much every person is using street light, no way to measure it. Now when I put a street light tax, somebody says that no, in my area street light is less, in another area it is more. So dissatisfaction comes in. So in public finance at a local level, at central level is different. User charge should be the first thing. And second thing, then going for a tax to fill up the gap for the things for which I can't charge. So wherever possible, first go for charge. Be transparent. And in charge again, I can do, if there are poor people, then I can say those who are using up to 15,000 liter, they will be charged less. Those who are using more water, they will be charged more. Even further they are using. So I personally feel that user charge is a better instrument at a local level, because people see it as a benefit. So if your quality is good, your service is good, people will have willingness to pay. But I agree fully that it will take time. Decentralization, these all countries have experience for 100 years with their local government, 200 years, correct? So they have evolved over the years. And big way capacity building, where this Center for Local Governance can do job. Because capacity will have to be built among the local officials, local politicians, and even citizens.
Okay, I think we have to stop right now for the sake of time. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you for your interaction. Thank you, Dr. Ravikant. See you next time, inshallah.